Listening to your goals and dreams is our top priority at West Tennessee Bank. Benefit from our more than 100 years of experience and visit our Henderson branch today. West Tennessee Bank, focused on you. West Tennessee Bank is a division of Decatur County Bank, equal housing lender, member FDIC.
First item on the agenda are the minutes. Are there any amendments or corrections to our minutes?
I don't have any amendments or corrections, but I do have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Do you want me to go now or wait?
Okay.
Okay.
You got it on your mind? Go
Right
ahead.
on my mind. I would just want to follow up on a couple of things. Did we order, Jim? Did we order the parks little Ranger truck?
Yes.
We did
Order
already.
the next day.
Okay. Well, good. Because I know there's a waiting list. What about yours? Yours is still on the wait.
We checked today, and it's still, we're still waiting.
Is it the chill? Okay, and another question I had. Let's see, not about the fire department. Did you, our running, of course, the American Rescue Plan. We was expected, of course, to get it at the end of July, and then you're going to schedule a meeting for the whole community to talk about it.
I received, I think we all got emails from TML yesterday or today, I believe.
Last night.
Last night we got it in. They were pushing this thing all the way back to October, November, before we could even see any draws on money. So they're pushing it back to October and November for the cities under 50,000. I think the cities above 50,000 counties are already sitting there. Yeah.
Well, I just, out of an abundance of caution, make sure we're totally transparent. I'm serving Florida,
We have not.
having a unit in need.
I'm hoping, my understanding, talking to Anthony Haynes, TML director, that they will come down with, they were for the guidelines for the comptroller and everything else. We hope to see it in September.
Yeah.
We're hoping to see the guidelines.
Okay.
But they pushed the money back, as of last night, they pushed the money back until October and November before we do any draws on that money.
Okay, wow. Do you know if they changed the use of it at all, or if that's?
We have not seen anything yet. The only thing that we've got is the state is going to use some of their money for wastewater and water. And they're talking about cities across the state being able to apply for those grants and using their money as match money. So those, when we do a grant, we use that 20% match. And a lot of grants, they're going to allow it, like it's wastewater or water, we could apply for example, we're going to have to put that, we're talking about that sale in that good, that second sale in the good in the co-op. Being able to apply for that grant and then using that, our money to match money.
Seemed like it was something going to follow up on utility. Was it a skid steer?
I've got that on the agenda for a moment.
Well, maybe that was it. It was something, but I don't know if it was like, sorry.
Are there any other, anything else, anything about the other minutes?
Make a motion to amend to be accepted as written.
A motion to approve the minutes is written. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify no. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda are the counts. There's no vote required on the counts. If you have any question on any of our bills, please give us a page number and line.
I have a couple of questions. One is, it's on page B2, it's Pearl Electric. That was where they replaced our damaged street light. And Jim, we talked about perhaps ordering a replacement so we have a matching one in reserve. On that bill, it was 9,000 something. How much was the?
Actually, he didn't break it out, it was a lump sum. So I've contacted Jeff McPearl, he's contacted the supplier, they're supposed to be getting me a price. I was expecting to have it by now, but I do not have a price yet, but I did follow up, and I am trying to get a price just for a pole.
Okay. Something else happens, then we'll have one, need one that matches. So.
Yes.
Was that the one in front of the courthouse?
Yes.
Okay.
That project, that $9,000, our insurance covered all but $1,000, which is already done. Because they were covered under our property policy. be better one to ask. I'm in the office too much. I know they haven't mowed this week, because I was in the cemetery today.
You said something
But
about.
We have not contacted, I have not contacted them about catching us before they started, but, so.
they're gonna text you or one before they mow, so we keep up.
That's the only questions I have.
Any other questions on the bills? Okay. Next item on the agenda is delegations. If you see, we have two delegations here on the agenda, but before we do those two, is anybody else here would like to address the board on any issue?
Grab my show and tells, excuse me.
Shall we tell you?
I apologize, I don't have enough of these, but we don't want to share. All right. First one to talk about, thank you for your time, thank you for the opportunity to come before you guys tonight. I've got a question. But before I ask that question, I want to explain kind of where I am, where we are, and kind of lay the foundation, if that makes sense. Okay, I want to help you understand the goals that we've had here at Bessos. There are three families that own Bessos to help mitigate risk, because our number one mission is to serve the community by providing a place that enhances the quality of life for the residents and encourages guests to see all that Henderson has to offer. We've made several choices that support that mission. That may not be the most economical way to make a profit on coffee, but that seek to add pride, a place to gather, and tourism dollars to our community. Investing in this sign is one of those decisions. We've seen places like The Grind in Martin become popular for all of West Tennessee and even Western Kentucky. They've become a destination. People go to Martin just to go to The Grind. They offer quality food, but most of all, they offer an experience. They offer atmosphere. So let me explain to you a little bit about how we got to me being here tonight. I believe it was maybe early July, I talked to Brent and sent him an email, or someone on our staff sent him an email about the Bessos sign. And we had and we offered it to him and said, will this work? We did that as a recommendation from John McCaskill, who's creating our sign, who's building our sign, not creating it. And after a few weeks, I got an email that kind of catapulted this. Bessos owner, the Planning Commission Downtown Design Review met last night at City Hall. The recommendation was that the sign must comply with the guidelines adopted in 2016. The proposed sign should not project more than 4 feet, be lower than 8 feet, or extend above the building. Okay, when I first read that, I'm like, sweet, rock and roll, we're good. And then I looked at it again, and I'm like, okay, they're saying we must comply with the guidelines. Okay, I thought I did comply with the guidelines. Okay, so I grabbed my stuff and I went over to Brent's office and I asked him some questions. I'm like, okay, I need to make sure that we're doing the right thing here. Are we complying with the guidelines? Because I agreed that we're no more than 4 feet off the building. We are above or at 8 feet, or right around 8 feet. I think we're above 8 feet. Above our awning that's on the side of the building. And our sign does not extend past the height of the building. So our building is 28 feet tall from the front. The highest point of our building is 28 feet tall. If you were to put it in a box, pick our building up and put it in a box, you'd have to have a box that was 28 feet deep in order to put our building in it to close the lid. So that's the height of our building, and that's been my assumptions ever since I started the design of this project. So if we look at the letter of the law, of course, I got this. I noticed that on July 6th, he did send this to me, and when I went back to his office last week, I got another copy, which is the copy I'm referencing today. And on page 4, let me go here. On page 9, we talk about the sign guidelines, and it's exactly as it was just written in the email. Number 1, it may not project more than 4 feet from the building, not extend any lower than 8 feet from the sidewalk, and not to extend above the top of the building. Deal. I'm on that. And then it talks about sandwich board signs, which don't apply to what I'm doing. So that's kind of like the letter of the law. And my understanding of the way the law is written, or the way that the guidelines are written, is that I comply with those guidelines. Okay, after talking with Brent, I understand that I do not comply with those guidelines, because where the sign is on the side of the building stair steps down to the back of the building. And it's like 17 feet high where the sign is above the door. So therefore, right there, it will extend past the top of the building. So that is correct. But on the front of the building, it does not extend past that. So I've got images that I'll refer to in just a moment. Now, when I'm thinking about the spirit of the law, so let me talk about that for just a moment. The spirit of the law. Why was this written? So if I turn to page 4 of this document that I got from Brent, criteria for design, I highlighted right here at the bottom. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that. But it goes about livability, visual impact, and vegetation. So this is the reason why we do this. Spaces should be designed to fit human scale, harmonize with the design of the streets, and accommodate pedestrian traffic. Okay, our sign is going to be in the alley. Visual impact. Private projects should be visually appealing and compatible with other development in the surrounding area. Okay? And vegetation, same thing. Landscape themes should be aesthetically compatible with that of the surrounding areas. So it talks about referring back to the codes and the guides and the ordinances. So I've got those here too. And again, I want to read the spirit of the guides, because in Ordinance 496, I think I want to read 497 first, is that right? No, this is 496. I want to read this one first. And in here, I don't see anything about measurements of signs, but I do see it in the previous document. So thinking about the spirit of the law, it says intent. Design review standards should be encouraged to protect the investment of individual property owners when the property is redeveloped and improved. Accordingly, any new building or redevelopment of an existing property in the district shall be designed and constructed to be architecturally compatible in materials, scale, and massing. Such structures are not intended to create monolithic architectural appearance in these districts, but to encourage creative and attractive building elements and finishes. So I think we're almost there. I think we're there actually, creating a attractive building element and finish. And then in this document, it refers back to section 11-315. And under sign provisions right here in the first paragraph, which I'm going to read, the purpose. All right, the regulations set forth herein are established in order to promote, protect public health, safety, comfort, prosperity, wealth, in order to accomplish the following specific purposes. To enhance the economy, business, and industry in Henderson by promoting the reasonable, orderly, and effective use of display signs. To enhance the physical appearance of the city. To protect the general public from damage and injury which might be caused by the faulty and uncontrolled construction and use of signs within the city. To protect the public use of streets and highways by reducing sign or advertising distractions that may increase traffic accidents. Good. To protect the physical and mental well-being of the general public by recognizing and encouraging a sense of aesthetic appreciation for the visual element. And to preserve the value of private property by assuring the compatibility of signs with surrounding land uses. It also goes on to talk about positioning characteristics and flashing signs, because our sign is designed to flash and to blink. Okay, our sign is proposed to be in the alley where there is no vehicle traffic. There's a drive-through behind and Main Street in front. It says flashing signs, blinking signs, revolving signs, signs that emulate traffic controls, or signs that pose a safety threat or danger are prohibited. Okay, I don't believe our sign emulates any kind of traffic control whatsoever. We're going to have coffee that flashes on, and then 3 parts of an arrow, and then it all flashes off. And then coffee, and then 3 parts of the arrow, and it all flashes off. And the part that is above that little section, that 17-foot section I talked about, I think it's about 3 feet. I measured today, about 3.5 feet actually. As you come across the bridge, you'll see the side, but you won't see the lights. So you won't even know that it's blinking while you're driving down until it hits you right here, if it blinks at all while you're driving. So those are things that I wanted to kind of talk about. And then I want to ask one question. And this is the question that I'm asking you all tonight. I'm asking you for a clear definition of the ordinance as it is written, or the guidelines as it is written. What does top mean? The top of the building. Okay? And or a waiver to allow the proposed sign.
I would like to agree with most of what he said. One thing that I'd say he left out, the email that was sent to me came from Courtney Williams, and I believe that was on July the 6th. Okay. On Wednesday, July the 7th, I replied to that, and I also copied, I believe it's Dawn Bramlett, in that email. I think Mayor King was in that email, Courtney Williams. Basically, it says the sign itself looks good to me. I need to measure to determine if it meets the requirements. Hope the sign will come with controls to adjust the brightness and timing. We need to look at the location to determine if the sign will require mayor and board approval to extend into the alley. I take it that the sign will be mounted perpendicular to the wall, not flush mounted. I want to make sure this will be allowed at this location or any other in the same zone with the same circumstances. I want everyone to review this to avoid confusion, unnecessary costs, or lost time. That's what I sent back to the people that were involved. We went and measured it and found out that it was going to stick up above the roof at that area. It's going to be physically above the roof dome.
That's right.
The date that this was sent, we could not get to the plan commission. It was 2 days before the plan commission. We didn't have time for notice. So we got this on the next month's planning agenda, plan commission agenda. We met in August. After our meeting, I emailed you, which that was all that, like I said, I agree is correct. The notice was in the paper. I think the notice was on our website. Basically, you have an idea that, like I said, looks good down there. It did not meet what we say each individual specific piece of the code. So we talked about it, discussed it in depth at the plan commission. We went from everything from allowing it to not allowing it to doing away with the code completely. The plan commission voted to make sure that it was in compliance with the code. And that's what I told you. And that's where we're at. We're at the board of mayor and alderman. Because also it says that anything put in a street or alley has to have board approval. So unless you're wanting to give me the right to do what I want to do in the city, we need y'all to make the decision.
May I have something, because I'm alternate serves on the planning commission. We never actually correct me if I'm wrong, we never had a motion.
We did have a motion, and it was said that if we go by the guidelines, we do not need a motion.
Correct. So nothing was ever, but what we sent, because we read it, not above the top of the building, not to extend above the top of the building, rent was thought someone was going to convey back to you that the sign was approved if you kept it within 10 feet in that location where you proposed to put it. It was a 10-foot sign, not extend above the top of the building there, and therefore, as far as the planning commission was concerned, it was okay. Or you could move it, because the way the building stair steps down, you could move it further to the front. If you wanted a 14-foot sign, you wouldn't have to get all the way to the front of the building. You could still keep it, I believe, in the alley a little bit. You could do a 14-foot sign if you wanted to move it further out. The building itself was taller, it could not extend above the top of the building at the point you were placing the sign.
So we're talking about a 7-foot difference, 7.5-foot difference on where the sign places, and according to the arrow that comes down, the arrow would be into a brick wall and not at the door. So it's just the design of the sign, A. B, I brought this here because I got this week. We've been talking with John McCaskill about the size of the actual channel letters that this is going to be built from. So you can't see the depth that's in this picture, okay? But this is the actual E that is going to be created. There's a depth here. It's a channel letter, so you put bulbs in the middle. The bulbs it's based on, you can see the sign right there. It's based on the 1920s sign. All the brick around the building, thanks to Frick's, is 1900, turn of the century, that was from Front Street and the old courthouse and things like that get scavenged. So this fits with the design style, but the problem here is we can't really go much smaller and be able to install our bulbs. So that's the issue where we are on the height of the sign. We've gone back and forth with John to make sure that we're doing the right thing to make the sign look correct in mass and scale and size with the size of the building, with the building itself. So yes, we can also move it to the very front of the building and be on Main Street. And if we do that, my understanding is we're in complete compliance with everything that's written in the guidelines. But if I do that, then I'm going to be losing the atmosphere and losing the mystique. I can't put it over the front door because there's a window there. And if I put it just to the side of the front door, then I'll see it from driving down one direction, but the other direction I won't see it because the way the cove is in there. You can see that on, I think it's page 2. No, not page 2. Page 2, you can see the actual height of the building taken from a drone shot today. And I photoshopped the sign as it's going to sit. So as you're looking at the front of the building, as you look at the height of the building, this picture right here, you're exactly right, that photograph right there, you're looking at the height of the sign does not extend past the height of the building when you're looking at it from the front.
So the question for clarity is, this certainly the height of the total building.
Correct.
You're within
Oh, yeah.
limitations.
I'm at the top of that. You're
Right.
exactly correct.
So you're correct right here.
Yes.
So does it read that if the roof slopes, it's at the lowest point or the highest point, or is there any differentiation about it?
I'll leave that to you, and you tell me.
All right.
Not extend above the top of the building.
What is the top? Is it where it goes down? Is it from?
That's the definition y'all will have to come up with.
Well, I mean, if he complies with the top of the building, and I would basically have done the same thing, I would look at the highest
At
point
the
of the
highest
building.
point of the building.
And because the ceiling inside is still, it's the same all the way, the difference is the top. I think he done what he
folks live on the property.
We need, y'all to come up with a motion to recommend that to the
Before we
planning
get
commission.
too down far down the rabbit hole here, let me give the board an understanding. We have general sign regulations that apply citywide.
Sure.
That's number one. Then this board gave the planning commission authority to do a downtown development. I forget the exact wording, downtown regulations, I forget the exact wording they use. That is actually the downtown design guidelines, which gives another layer of guidelines that is actually drafted and approved by the planning commission, not by this board necessarily, it's the planning commission. And that is the reason the decision was made to refer this to the planning commission, because the guidelines that we're reading from are actually in the downtown review guidelines.
Correct.
So they were doing what the code requires them to do, is to review it, and they made a decision at the planning commission. Now, the definitions, Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, if there is a question about the rules of the law, that is normally something that is appealed to the Board of Zoning Appeals to get a decision concerning the interpretation of what is the top of the building. There is one more thing here that really we haven't crossed here. This is projecting into a city alley at a height that is not allowed by a municipal code, which is another document. So there's multiple layers of problems with the sign the way it's initially designed. It's not to say it can't be done, but nobody with the city administration felt comfortable to say, yeah, go ahead, Bessos, put up your sign. So we do need clarification and make sure everybody's in agreement that this is okay. And I think this board can do that. But I just want to give you an understanding about the process it went through and why it ended up being a planning commission decision, because this is their downtown review guidelines that y'all gave them the authority to draft and pass.
Yes, I remember.
So that's sort of the way this is. And so that's the reason, I just want to give you an understanding
The
why it
things are
ended up in
gonna
planning
come
commission.
up, right?
Huh?
Things are just gonna come up.
Yes,
And-
they're always.
And sometimes it's great.
Can this board change the downtown, not the ruling, can they change, can they change the regulations? Or does the planning commission have to change the regulations?
Really, the planning commission is one piece. To be
But
honest.
could we ask them to at least clarify for
Yeah.
us so that this doesn't come up again?
Yeah. Now, something else y'all do need to decide about is allowing him to put this in the alley. Because under the existing regulations in the municipal code, anything that's over an alley or a street has got to be, Brent, correct me if I'm wrong, 14 feet above the ground?
I think it has to be ready for traffic.
So, which is 14 feet, like 13 and a half, 14 feet.
But
So
there is
this
some traffic.
sign is going to be lower than that. So I'm just giving you that information in case someone else comes
But I have a question.
that is a actual
Is that
alley
a
that has
alley?
traffic on it.
It's still a city street. It's considered an alley, but it's still like a street, it's like
The
the
city-
alleys over in the back. So that's the problem, that's what conundrum we're all talking about. We've been sitting here, us, the last 3 or 4 weeks talking about.
Yeah.
We can say, that looks great, I want to do that, that's great. But the rules tell us something different, so this is where we have to address the rules to make the changes you want to make.
But you can't drive through there. It's not a through street now.
If you remember, the city council did not, they allowed it to be lots, but they did not, it's still a city street, and it's owned by the city. And the reason why, if something happens down the road, the city has the right to open that up at any time they want to open it up. And that's the reason the city council chose to do that. And that's, like I say, that's what we've been discussing for the last 2 weeks here. But all of us trying to come to what is, we got these rules that we have to address. Correct, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, Jim, this on the sign going above the building has to go back to the planning commission.
I think.
I think that would be the proper
For
thing.
them, the planning commission look at it and if they decide to make those changes. Now, if the city council does not like what the planning commission does, they can do away, they can take that ordinance, they gave the authority of the planning commission to do that, and do away with that, if they choose to.
There was a discussion at the planning commission, I believe, to just do away with the downtown design review.
I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think
Did
that's.
you go before the planning commission?
No, I did
You got
not.
up to-
No, I did not.
I
I
don't
say
think you
before
knew
coming
about
to
that.
us, why don't you go before the planning commission first? And and then see what happens. Present what you got, what you showed us tonight, present it to them, then y'all can have the discussion.
And then I think it could be approved, it could be, if that goes, you can appeal it to the board, you can appeal it back to the zoning, the board of zoning appeals, if he doesn't.
Well, if they want to change their rules. and
They can
say
change the rules, they can change the
measures at the
rules
top
and
and height
say
of the building, then
that,
it's not.
they can change the rules and say it can go over the build, the whole height of the building. Or they could, we have split hairs and try to do that. Now, but this city council, y'all know, this city council has to make a decision on the sign over the alley.
I think they need to.
They can make that decision to authorize that if we get, if the planning commission will approve the sign.
Let me make this observation about going in the alley itself. Am I correct in that we allowed the awning over the door to go where it is?
If we like, well, if you were thinking about it, we made about three, not just Besso, we made the same thing, I think, in another place. We've had, well, we've done the coffee shop, we've done, I don't know if the awning, I don't think the awning went over, did the awning go over the street at the drugstore?
They got little rollouts.
It rolls out.
It rolls out.
That's what I'm saying, the city council's given, and passed has given that authority.
Because the reason I ask, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, the sign itself would not come past the edge of the awning that's there.
It would come right to the
To
edge
the edge
of
of it.
Yes.
So it's not blocking any more of the alley than what is already
That's
blocked by
correct.
the existing awning.
That is correct.
So
Also,
I think
you'll
we've already
notice-
put a variance there for that section, it's already blocked.
So I guess, to make it, y'all jump in if I'm saying it wrong, I would need a motion from y'all to allow the sign to be over the alley. And then the planning commission,
Jason, how far off the wall is it going to be sitting? From the base of the wall to the outside, one of the sides.
Right at 4 feet. The
How
sign,
long, how wide your awning? Is it 4 feet then?
you know, I think, yeah, right at 4 feet. It's right at, they're both, it's right at 4 feet.
That's
This
our
is
the
the
minimum.
sign.
awning is 4 feet on the other alley.
It's
Yeah,
not impeding
The
anything.
awning's 4 feet on the other, I mean,
On the backside.
yeah, it's a 4 feet on the backside.
Right.
So it's same thing.
Well, on the backside.
With
The drive-through.
The drive-through on it.
yeah.
Bump that.
It's been bumps out there.
Yeah.
So in essence, what I need is that this board is willing to give him authority to come out with a sign in the alley, and then the planning commission
And
would have to go back to it, adjust the height, and sign out the issue they have to do, we still be staying under the regulations of the guy.
Because they're still going to come back
And
here for
if
that.
they feel like they don't want to adjust the height,
Then can it go to the board of zoning appeals?
I don't know if you can appeal a written regulation, but you may can appeal the definition
The interpretation.
I mean, because it is,
Not defined.
we can argue that, I think we all can argue that point.
Yes.
I think that's something that has to be addressed, that's a point you can argue.
We also got to remember that anytime anybody else comes with
That's
a
right.
similar situations, you
Got
can't
it.
really deny them.
So that's,
Because at the eve of the house, on the A-frame, the top of the house is gonna be a whole lot taller than the eve. So that's just something to think about, but we still, so we did not, the planning commission or myself did not allow any of the drive-throughs, any of the 4-foot awnings, anything sticking in the street. And I'm still not done that. We're trying to get
And
it.
he ain't going to.
It's supposed to.
Me too.
Some people may have put it there, but like I said, it's not been,
I have a question. Can emergency vehicles, just say, can they get put that out? I mean, I know they have to do flower pots and tables and such, but
We measured a garbage truck on
Yeah.
our back.
The
Well, I
alley,
need that.
the alley where we're talking about is like a time and a half beyond the back alley where the drive-through is.
yeah.
It is wider than that back alley. It was determined that a garbage truck, an ambulance, a fire truck can all get through the back alley.
Yeah.
So based on that assumption, this is a wider alley, absolutely.
I'm just
Yeah.
precautionary.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to make a motion that this goes before the zoning committee and let them give us a clear definition. Because I too looked at one shot, this one, it's exactly
Yeah.
correct. you look at another.
On page 3.
Yeah, you look at another and it's different.
Yeah.
So, definition. And then I think once they make that decision, we gave them the authority to hold Board of Amendment. And I think we should back them up with whatever they decide. And that's one. And then secondly, or part B of that is if they come together and it works, I think we should let them take the sign.
Well, it works or not.
Well, I think.
Oh, it's still got to be a approval for it.
They've got to get approval, but then the city side of it, if they approve it, and we know emergency vehicles can get through,
Well, what about the outlets tonight?
We could do that contingent upon.
contingent, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
contingent
contingent
on what
upon
they say. That's part B of it.
Oh, that's not.
No, we have to wait and see what they say.
If they approve it, then we approve,
So you're saying you're going to approve it going in the alley if the planning
if
commission.
approved by the.
By the
The motion you're making is to send this back to the planning commission.
That's
To
correct.
make a decision
On the high.
on the
On the
height of
height.
the sign.
Definition.
And the contingent, if they approve that, then the city council will approve the going there concerning go hanging over the alley.
So let them hang
All they're
it.
going to see the 4 feet.
So I'll see on the fourth. Is that your motion?
Yes, that's what we've done
Okay,
before.
is that- do I have a second that motion?
Well,
Have a second that motion.
If Brent's home, then what about the code? It's not the code, then what it's going to do?
Brent's doing his job.
I think it's gonna be the planning commission. The planning commission has to, I think, while we're discussing the motion, I think, Mike, you're right, the planning commission has to look at the ordinance talking about the height not exceeding the building. And they have to determine if it's like
The highest point of the
the
building.
highest point of the building, or like he said, the eve or something like that. That's a decision the board, the planning commission will have to make, and I believe that. When you say that, Brent, that's the decision they'll be making a decision.
Yeah,
If it gets by you like that, I'm not going to like that.
right.
I've already done that.
So they should do it.
Top of the building, no longer above the building, might not be above the building.
Gotcha.
I think it's top of the building, is it the highest point of the building, or is it where the sign?
Well, I think that has a lot to do, I think that also
That's
has,
what the planning commission will have to.
and I think that question can also be, a commercial building that has a flat roof is different than a residential building that has
A picture.
a pitched roof. You're exactly right. And I don't see any residential signs on residential buildings. I don't know, are there? I don't know.
But bottom line, whatever they do decide,
Oh, I'm
I
good.
think we absolutely, as a board, support them.
Oh, yeah.
And, but it's, I want them to define what is the regulation height. Is it the highest part, lowest part, or, you know, an average of that, or what?
Okay.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
I just think since, he said, I think since Bill Moore's, I hope he's got all that, since he's on the planning commission, he's got everything,
He got it.
what he just said.
Mr. Smith and myself, we've got it. We just have any help.
I can tell sarcasm when I hear it.
I'm gonna have a motion to second, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, signify by no, motion carries. All right, the next item is our other delegation is the Chester County 911 Director, Tricia Lifford, on request of land for the new emergency communication center next to the fire station on Stanford Street. Tricia.
Hopefully mine will be somewhere in there. I have a PowerPoint for everyone. If you guys want to come down and view that, that would be wonderful. If not, you have that. You have it in a packet that I provided to everyone.
If you want to go down.
You can do it for everyone you would like. And I also have extra material in your PowerPoint. Are you sure? Okay. Everyone got one? Okay. Okay, for those of you who do not know me, I'm Tricia Ledford. I'm the Director of the Emergency Communications District. I'm also a member of the TENA board, which is the Tennessee Emergency Number Association. I've been on that board for 3 terms now. During my administration with the ECD, I had several changes that involved with technology and how things are handled. We've also been able to establish a strong financial status while continuing to update software and devices and hardware that enhances 911 communications. Actually, let my secretary out. Okay, she can take it. Okay. Currently, we reside in this location. We're at 126 Crook Avenue, which is across the road, which is the old jail. We're downstairs in the basement. But today, I'm here on behalf of the ECD to request property for a future 911 emergency communications building, which is much needed. Okay, site history. This building was built in the 70s. Back then, they used asbestos and lead paint, and we all know that that's not very healthy, which we're very thankful for the county for letting us have this location to house the dispatch. Since inception, dispatch has changed its size 4 different times. I myself, since I've been there, I've changed its size 2 times. The state of the building, the locking mechanism was installed on the main door a few months ago, but it's still open to the public for storms. When they open the door to storms, they go to the EOC room, and what happens is people go back there, and so it makes it very unsafe for dispatch. People run up and down the halls, the children are there, so the dispatchers cannot hear what they need to be doing with all the noise and everything. Plus, it's very unsafe. Outside, of course, they have cameras everywhere to view everything that's going on over there, but they only have 2 parking spots, and it's not gated or safe for them. So when they go out at night at 11 o'clock, with some of them not in camera view, I have one over there right now, they're parked way around the side over towards the courthouse. So they're not going to be on camera view, which makes it very unsafe for them. The ECD history. Chester County the ECD was originated in 1992. That's when 911 was established here. It was created by Chester County. We are considered a municipality, we're not city or county. I'm currently serving in my 9th year, and I moved into this current building in 2012. The funds that we have, I have constructed those in the past 9 years. And I'm proud to say that we've grown quite a bit of money because I noticed that when I first came, that a building was very much needed. The last grant that we was given was in 2013, and they're no more to be given. The current state of my office is, I have a director, I'm the director, I'm sorry, and I have a secretary, but we share the same office. Our desks are about 8 feet apart, so anytime that I'm on a phone call that's very important, or I have to speak with a communications supervisor, or have to do any kind of disciplinary action with an employee, I have to ask her to leave the office. So if she's in the middle of doing any type of work, then it's very troublesome for her to have to leave the office during that. Dispatch, when it first began, Johnny Ferris is here because I've got several board members present. When they first started, they started with added lines, which were the city and the county, 2787 and 2201. And it was not until the mid-80s, and Johnny Ferris was part of that, and you have actually a picture of that when 911 came in. They had one screen, which was an NCIC screen, and they were not able to receive caller information. They grew to 4 screens later, but they didn't get a CAD until 2008. Presently, we are capable to receive callers' location and information. They operate wirelessly via headset, perform operations utilizing 6 screens. We are prepared to go digital with necessary equipment installed. Projected to go public with Texas 911 in about 2 months. I just tested with my last carrier on Monday. So I have a couple more things that I need to do because all carriers have been tested with. And we have all state-of-the-art equipment, so everything is top of the line. My main goals for this building. One of my main goals that I've always had is my dispatcher safety. Dealing with COVID last year on March 16th, I shut the building down because of having public restrooms and everything else, trying to keep the dispatchers safe, and everything else going on in the world. I need to have them gated parking, a gated entrance, and those type of things. They need adequate space to work in because their dispatch room is only a 14 by 24. It's very, very tiny, and they have 3 consoles in there. My equipment room is extremely small, and it needs to be 3 to 4 sizes that it is now. They need an improved work environment, which will boost their morale and increase the size of their area. Their size will almost triple because I need to look down the road. You have in your documents there, you have call summary from last year. That is all the agencies that we dispatched to. And in the city, we dispatch to the City of Henderson Police Department, City Fire Department. They take after hours for it's not in the slideshow, there's a call summary, it's a CAT incident. It shows they take after hours calls for the Henderson Utilities, Street Department. So there's a lot of calls that come in, but that's got everyone in the city and the county that they take calls for. Next up, you'll see the parcels. The parcels in question are beside the City Fire Department. And then you'll show how the building that I have designed and the parking lot. And I've also designed one with the 70 feet that the city would like to keep for an increase in possible future that they would like to do. But I do have gated parking for employees where they would enter through the side door, public parking out front. The next one is the building with some information on it. It's a little over 4,000 square foot. It's FEMA rated to withstand an F3 tornado. The exterior is brick, has a concrete roof. Approximate cost is $300 a square foot, which runs $1.3 million, and that's cradle to grave. Does not include the equipment or the furniture inside. I do have extra spaces built in on the interior, extra offices, extra records room for any growth that will be needed. And then there is another full-scale layout. To be able to fit on this property, I have pulled the generator and put it around to the back side of the piece of property. It's just not shown on this one. I haven't had the architect draw it apart. In closing, I would like to request that the city board would consider donating the property that has been discussed tonight to the Emergency Communications District for a new 911 emergency communications building. This is something that is greatly needed. The reason being that if 911 communications goes down, no one else can get the call out. And I'm happy to answer any questions. There's several board members here. Johnny Ferris has been on the board since inception. But there's very knowledgeable people here, and I can answer any questions that you may have. And there's a lot of information in your packets.
You say you're asking us to donate that property?
That's what I would like.
It goes back to what he said a while ago. If we start changing things, then someone else comes up, we got some property.
Yes, sir, I
They want to do the
understand.
same thing, and you feel obligated to do the same thing. But I don't know about that.
I understand.
To give you a little history on this property, back in 1990, early 90s, 92, 93, I think we built the station, so a little before that. The city knew that we might need some more land in this area adjacent to the fire department based on our design. So we went to Mr. Smith, that lived next door, and we worked out a deal with him to do a first right of refusal to purchase his property. Back about 2013-14, the family of Mr. Smith came and said they had an offer and wanted the city to match it. It was a considerably high offer, so the city, I think Johnny Ferris made the motion, thought it was a little too high for what we needed, so they passed on that. About 4 months later, the family came back and said that deal fell through and the price suddenly got cut in half. At that point, the city decided to purchase this land. The original purchase price, I think, was $20,500. There was a house on the property we had to demolish, so we got about $26,000 tied up in these two lots, just for you to know. We have looked at it and studied it, and if we did need to add more fire stalls to the fire station, we feel like the 70 feet would be enough to add enough fire stall space, 2 more stalls, plus a drive around the edge of the building, sort of like we have now. So we feel like that would be probably the biggest expansion we would need in the next 20, 30 years to that fire station. It may never happen, but I hate not to at least have that as an option. So that's the reason for the 70 feet.
Is that enough, Jim?
Yes, I think based on all the discussions, most fire stall bays are 25 to 30 feet. So that's going to give you 2 bays plus another 10 feet, plus we already got a drive next to it already. So that pretty much, I think, will be enough space to be able to add 2 bays, and that's double the depth bays, drive-through bays, just like the existing one. So you can put as many as 6 more vehicles in that addition. Excuse me, 4 more vehicles in the addition.
With the straight line, 70 feet line drawing, that would also include the city giving up some of the land that's currently part of the fire station.
Yes, some of the original fire station probably goes in behind these lots. You can see by the diagram I handed you, there is a little corner there that goes up in there that would be part of this request. They feel like they need it for some additional growth and later on or parking or something. So that is the reason the line was drawn, is a straight line all the way across there.
Well, we didn't think at the time, I believe I was on the board when we were doing this, and we were thinking that getting all the property might have a commercial use for somebody at some point, us keeping what we needed for the city for expansion of the fire station. In talking to at least one 911 board member, they thought that, given the reserves you talked about building up, that the city might be able to recoup most of our funds that we have tied up in this property and basically sell it to the 911 for y'all to do as you please, us retaining what we need. And I myself feel a little bit more comfortable doing that to protect the citizens of Henderson. The money we have tied up in it, your project, if I'm correct, you're talking about funded entirely through the 911 fee we pay on our phones, et cetera.
Yes, sir, it's $1.50, yes.
And we had that discussion, and I'm on the 911. Naturally, she's doing, and I'm gonna give her kudos. Whenever she first come in 9 years ago, this board was sitting on less than $400,000. Through her abilities and this board, these people have been on here many years, we have quadrupled that. Plus, 2 years ago, we spent over $300,000 building additional repeaters, going simulcast. The deputies no longer have to switch repeater. We built a new tire. We are financially solvent. We will not be asking anybody for a dime. She's doing what we pay her to do, to ask for nothing. To ask for nothing. If she hadn't done that, we'd been mad. Now, I can't speak for the board entirely, but I think this board realizes we may have to buy some property. We think this property is an ideal sales property. It would work if we ever move our tower because the elevation that would keep us from having to go so high with the tower. We think it will add to the aesthetics of the fire department. We think the fire department adds. We think it's a win-win for y'all and for this board. Now, we're willing probably to pay some. Now, we're not willing to pay the absorbent price, but we would ask that it be something within reason to recoup. Now, whenever you and I talked, we talked about the full price. But now we're doing land swaps, so we may have to come off that just a little bit.
Well, that's one thing
But we are-
bringing up. I realize we're swapping some land in the back, but we're also taking 70-foot of frontage off the front to keep it retained back into the city, so that's a little bit different there too.
I was
Like
not,
70-foot of frontage means a little bit more than that, a little bit in the back.
Yeah.
So,
I was not trying to avoid mentioning them, I just didn't want
And in 30 years, I've been thrown on the bus, run over, backed up, I'm good with it. But we understand, I mean, we want this to be a win-win for the city, we want it to be a win-win for us. The the thing that you need to come to 911 for is we're not going after any tax dollars. Everything that's gonna pay for this building, if we pay for any land, comes strictly to the fee that comes off your cell phone or obsolete landlines anymore. So that's why we feel good about this, and that's why we're here tonight asking. We would love to have it donated to us, but if that's not possible, we would like a very reasonable price if we could go back to this board and vote.
Sure. It's a perfect location, I agree.
I'm just trying to say, the 911 town I've been there going on 29 years. It's owned by the city and the county, all the equipment down there. And this last couple of days, we've done $300,000. We didn't ask the Board of Alderman, North County Commissioners for that. We done it out of 911. And had we not had that money, we've been asking for $300,000 up. And I just think that it's not too late.
Jim had to text you very rarely see a bill come across your desk anymore for most of the time.
No, because, yeah, I pay all the bills.
We just
and
had to
they're
replace our
huge.
clock that was required to have, world clock down there, $6,800. Now, one come back would have been $3,500 apiece, and I just don't think much of it, I think that it's not unreasonable, because I don't want to cut price on that.
Sure. This is one reason
Thank you.
that,
And thank you, Mr.
this is one reason why I did the call summary, but I did the CAD incident. I wanted you to see that actually, you see what departments get so many calls. This is last year, how many calls, and what dispatch. Because last year, there was 33,894 calls that went through that center. That's calls, okay? But only 22,200 and some had actually CAD cards. So that would be officers and everybody else. But a lot of that has to do with just the city, the utility department, like the after hours, those are the type of things that some dispatch agencies don't do normally, but we do. And, you know, we don't fuss or do anything like that, but, you know, I take care of all that. Yes, Johnny Paris makes fun of me all the time because he tells me I'm just so tight and frugal because I don't want to spend money. But I've been able to save $1.2 million since I became director. And because I had a building in mind, and he can probably tell you that because I say it all the time. But they sit down there cramped. But if they're down and they've been down before, then nobody else gets help. And that's why I'm so passionate about this, is because I want the citizens to have what they deserve. But the dispatcher, it all starts down there with dispatch. They need the building and the area that they have to be able to get help to the officers and everyone else when they're out there.
Well, I totally agree, it's a perfect place, and that I think it would be awesome, and I looked at your design, it looks very good, I really like the storm shelter part.
Yes, the whole building.
Yes, but I just would like a little fun, something reasonable.
I understand.
That's all I'm saying.
I understand.
Johnny, you got anything you want to add?
The only thing I would say, just for clarification, the 911 district is a municipality, just like the city of Henderson, is set up as a government, like the county. We're not an individual organization. We are governed by the same controller that you are. All our funds have to be audited, just like yours does. And it's not one individual asking for this. It's actually a sub-part of the government of Chester County and the city of Henderson.
I would ask for it for everything, by the way. Gotta start with what you want. Yeah.
You gotta start low.
Or paying for it, yeah, either way.
That property we got up there is what, 2 acres, 2.5 acres?
No.
It's not that big, I don't think.
Well, how much, is that what we got, what you said, is that what we got in all the property?
All the property of the 2 lots that we bought was $26,000 few dollars.
How much?
And the additional amount is sort of the same square footage roughly as what we're keeping, so I'm taking that into account.
So
But some of it's
about-
back.
So let's just say we got $25,000 out of it. Mayor said we taking the frontage and giving them some in the back, so, you know, is it worth the same? No, it's not. So, you know, take that into account, whatever y'all would like to do, it's up to y'all. Go.
You got something?
Yeah, okay. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but there's a lot of things that Tricia's done in the background that has helped the city monetarily. I know with me, I've asked her for hard line or radio equipment, antenna, stuff in the tower, she's probably been there to get it, and some of that's, well, let's see, it's 26,000, I just didn't know if you, and I'm sure she's done that for the sheriff's department, so she has done some real good there, I just want to thank you.
So we got the way.
Now, we'll also pay for the fire department's, payment system that they're using now, that we have one more pay for that, so that's a cost that had we not had now one more, I'm sure he would be here asking y'all. So I mean, we can get it, you probably wouldn't get it to us, but that's why we're asking for a very fair price. I think it's a good trade.
Yeah.
So we got it for half price, so what we do,
Give me a figure.
15,000.
15,000.
What about half and half and half?
half.
15,000.
Is it worth 25, right? 25.
Well, what's it worth? It depends on what somebody's willing to pay. So,
The
you know, it's hard to
high
say.
piece is all trees,
Yeah.
so I'll have to do a lot of work in that area, because eventually, because I'll have to do work to that anyway.
Clearing that out anyway, aren't you?
Huh?
You're gonna wind up clearing that out anyway.
Yeah, I'll have to clear that out.
For parking or tower or
Well,
whatever.
one day eventually, the tower possibly, so
I'll say 13.
that's another number, Michael.
Okay. 13.
How about let's go down slower?
Fourteen
There
cents.
you go, 14.
What was
There you go.
12.5? 12.5 sounds better.
Don't start me out unlucky, okay, Michael, come on.
I'll make a motion to do it for 15, that's what I wrote down.
I second that motion, that's what I wrote down.
I have a motion and a second for 15,000.
Obviously, I rolled four.
We,
I'll vote.
I think before we, one thing I want to bring up too is make sure that everything's clear is, and I don't think it's going to happen, but we need to have something in here in case it doesn't happen.
Right.
Let's say that 6 months from now you decide that it's not rebuilt and it's still there. What is the will of the board?
Well, I think the motion needs to say, one, that we got a price, 15,000. Two, you need to give them time to, of course, get their plans moving forward, so, but just basically say if it's not used for this use, it goes back on the city.
Right.
Right.
And then number three, I just pulled a blank, they need to cover all the costs of the transfer. Surveys, whatever they have to do.
We would also ask in the contingencies, that the surveying, in case we get a property surveyed, and you don't own as much as what you think, and it won't fit our needs, and we're not obligated. Plus, we're gonna do a geological soil survey, and then if something comes up and there's an underground cavern there that we don't know about, we would just like that. This board is committed to building the building. We are going to build the building. The only reason we won't is if for some reason they blow us out of the water on the cost, then we may have to hold off for a few months. We're gonna build the building. We just like those contingencies.
I'm just happy you didn't say Blue Street.
Even if you decided you'd rather found a better spot, besides, well, we got this other spot that's better, and they're charging only 13,000.
You just want to make more money, Keith.
No, but if y'all don't, seriously, if you do not want, determine that you don't really want that piece of land after all, for whatever reason, we would just take it back. No, we
Yeah.
don't do it.
We at least have first right of refusal in that case, yes.
So, we're going to amend his motion.
You all read the motion the way it is now, make sure everybody reads it.
It seems to agree with all the stuff we just added to it.
We agree, the board is approving a motion to sell the property to the Chester County 911 district for $15,000. The city maintains 70 feet next to the fire station. It is put in the contingencies that if they do not use it for the communication center, it will revert back to the city. If there's problems with the lot where they do not want it, they will give it back to the city, and so there's no cost involved. And I think that's pretty much all that we've really covered. And there is some deadline that is a figment of our imagination right now, but we're not going to put an actual date on it that says they got a deadline to actually proceed. Or they can't sit on it for 10 years.
Now, he brought up environmentals. Did you say for us to, is that what you said?
He gives them,
If they're gonna spend everything, if they decide to back out, it's up to them.
It's okay, I just want to be clear on it.
And they can take whatever steps they want to prior to us doing the deeding.
Okay.
They won't go ahead and proceed with anything like that.
So do you need a time frame of when that would, how long they have to do something? Was that what you were asking, do we need that?
Well, you know, we can leave it somewhat open-ended. You know, I have no problem leaving it 12 months.
I was saying, could we do 365 days?
Yeah, we can do 12 months.
We're meeting next week, we're gonna go in.
I mean, you're gonna move forward, so,
Yeah.
but that way, if something happens, you're not pushed, so.
We're gonna keep playing that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, signify by no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's right.
Next item is the consider request by the Chamber of Commerce and our interim director.
Hello, and good evening. As many of you know, I'm Katie Carroll, and I serve as the interim director of the Henderson County Chamber of Commerce. First off, I want to say thank you all for your continued support over several years. As many of you know, we host the 43rd Annual Chester County Barbecue Festival, the largest fundraiser that the Chamber has. With those funds that we receive, or that we raise, we implement into programs that we are able to have. Tonight, I ask that let me start off by saying, over the several years, the festival has grown tremendously. We look at the festival after every year, sit down with our committee and our board, and we see what can we do to make the festival even bigger and better than years before. We have heard from community members that they would like to see a fireworks show. So tonight, I come to you to ask if y'all would consider funding the closing ceremony of the barbecue festival with a fireworks show.
Where would you hold it?
That's a great question. Mayor, do you?
I reached out to, they told me they want to do that. I thought I would reach out. One thing I did say that if the city did sponsor, it's going to have to be a company that's bonded and insurance and everything that does it. So I reached out to the mayor and Bolivar, who just had one. They did one, and companies out of Memphis. I talked to the company out of Memphis. I emailed him the address of the courthouse. And he will look at the map around the courthouse and see how far he has to go out to find a safe area to shoot. It runs about, his price is one of the lower prices, about $7,500. And that's the, I think, I talked to Julian and Bolivar's, his was below 10, it was about 11. And then they try to hook me up with the one that does one at Beach Lake, and that's way out of our budget. What they do there, they have several sponsors. But I looked at that one, and that's the one I checked with the mayor, and he was pleased with how they did, and that's a professional company out there. I talked to him on the phone, and the price he gave me was $7,500, and then I emailed him to come back to the spot. I think a lot of us, as usual, as much as we talked about Jason's sign, we talked about fireworks the last 2 weeks, where it can be put. We're going to have to bring this guy down here and look, like Henderson, everything kind of sits on the hole, and everything goes off into a hole, and only safe areas are in the hole. And so we're going to have to try to find a spot to keep the peace to do that. But also to the safety of downtown too, so you're going to have to get them a little away from town.
Well, they had one at the ballpark.
They did that. I don't know what company they hired at the ballpark.
They have like 3 arms.
Free Hardman had, some of them had one that really was different kind of contractor and everything else. I just feel like if the city does it, it's going to have to get a reputable contract with other cities to do it. Plus, we have to put a rider on our insurance. I believe that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, our liability policy has, anytime we have a fireworks display, we have to provide them, plus we have to provide them who's doing it, their licensing, and their liability information.
So it will cost us a little bit, it'll cost us more to do it simply because of the liability issue.
Can you do things like that, like at a state park? I mean, there's water there, I mean,
Yeah.
you're good.
close.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they shoot, you know, of course, the first thing we thought was somewhere around 3 Hartman and the lots where they're shooting the fireworks off in here every year anyway. And I don't, that's the reason this guy's got to come down and look at it and tell us where it's going to be and what the safest area to be. Because his liabilities in the state too, so.
Of course, if it turns off dry, it's even more problematic.
All for the fireworks, what scares me is the downtown built so low. If something sparks up there, all of us will fire. It's gonna be hard to find. That's what my work is. Now, having it might get 3 cars down there at parks or around Dixon. We usually carry one of our fire trucks out there, stand by.
That's the reason, like I said, this guy's got to come down and look at the side. I don't see him shooting them off the courthouse square. I honestly believe he's going to have to go to some side, off-site downtown area to shoot.
There's not firewalls between these businesses, right? That's the problem.
I make a motion that we just see what that other guy's coming down to look at the place and what he says, and then we'll take it from there.
I think it's the 25th. 25th of September. I can bring it down and get the price and come back to you, but that gives us about 2 weeks, so.
So we sold, do we need a motion back, do we need a motion second to do it?
I think the problem they're having is we started advertising.
Yeah.
Because we really, my opinion is this is good for the city. Because we've been closed up in the house since last spring. Give these people something that is kind of unforeseen. I know the name, we can watch, but I think that would be great.
Or go ahead and approve doing it and a budget for it. And let the mayor make decisions about where it needs to be located. If you want.
I like that, because then that way you've got the lead time that you need for the festival, rather than just give it 2 weeks.
But not advertising just yet. She's needing to advertise now.
That's the problem, if we don't advertise it, you can't.
But again, and I don't think anything ought to be manufacturer input on it either.
Once y'all get that company to come in, do that.
Well, I would assume,
But you'd be part of the discussion.
I plan on the company comes in, that part of it would be the police chief and fire chief going around with it. Because one is, if our fire chief's got to sign about the fire issues, and the police chief has got to sign the security around it, keep people from being near it.
Right.
So I would definitely have them in the conversation when we're going to do that.
We just said someone's already had it before, so we're not gonna do it downtown. We're gonna open those buildings and we're doing it outside. So that's not the question. We're not gonna do it where a building's gonna catch on fire downtown. It's gonna be all somewhere else. So, it's not
And
the first time.
also we like to get permission wherever we didn't come, sure, wherever we see the problem.
Of course, that takes away from your wanting everybody to be downtown to see it. So, you know, it's like, we can't have it downtown. It's just too much.
Well, I mean, can you see it? I mean, I'm thinking to myself, somebody help me out here, we're at Freed Hartman. Can I see it from courthouse long, we're at Freed Hartman? And the ball field down to Freed Hartman or somewhere?
Depends on how high
I
they
think you
shoot.
can see it.
Depends on how much the building is. Trees and
Higher what they did
everything.
at the ballpark.
Everybody
Don't
flying
shoot
up
higher
around the
what
road.
it's you shot theirs.
Well, I'm
I
sorry.
mean, to see it. If it's down there at the ball field, the university,
You can't see.
you can, it's already down in the fall.
You can't see.
Now, they may be able to put it up and pellet in to get it at work to be seen. Because you know, vehicles, that's what they do.
The Front Street parking lot is still too close to downtown.
So they again,
The Front Street parking lot.
A lot of
Well,
this,
probably if it's in the hole too.
yeah, but a lot of this is gonna decide what this expert decides.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
You know, when it comes down to it, I mean, he's gonna be the expert, and he's gonna be the one to actually take the liability and give us a good understanding of what he thinks safely can be done. So really, a
That's
lot
what
of
he
these
does.
guys-
He might come down and get it, and say, I can't, where you want to see it, I can't shoot it from anywhere where you can see it. He might say, I don't know.
At that point, you're gonna go back to Channing and Chamber Board and see if they're, if you work out something that will work
For some
for
distance.
everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they,
But at least if this board goes in, gives you authority to start that negotiation and budget, you know, you can go ahead and proceed if it will work out. So then other things come together.
So it's gonna, Bill still has the original motion. He made the motion, right?
No, I think he didn't use
I just made a motion to just everyone, the guy comes down and looks at it, if he says it's okay, then I'm okay with everything else.
That's gonna be next month.
but again,
I mean,
she wants it down
Well, I think Rick Point, we don't know.
you don't know where the guy's gonna say budget at, I mean, you don't know that.
It may not be preferred, but I mean, it's in the ballpark, I still think people will look at it, go down there and look and watch it. Maybe people that burn at the festival come out for that, so I mean.
About what time would be wrapping up the whole thing?
I would say around, well, about 9:15.
Here's the nut thought, you're talking about market, Seaboard.
Yeah.
All comes over, you know, Seaboard.
Yeah.
I withdraw my motion if somebody else did different, that's fine.
So I'll make a motion that we authorize the mayor to contact the company to do a fireworks show in conjunction with Barbecue Festival and set him a budget of, do we want to put a not to exceed, we know it's, so not to exceed, I don't know how much your rider's going to be. So does the rider need to be part of what the cost is? So not to exceed $8,000, we know it's going to be at least $7,500, but then you got to give you some wiggle room. So that'd be my motion.
$8,000.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion carried with a very low aye.
Thank you.
That wasn't real strong.
That's right.
There's a lot of worry there.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is consider bids receiving replacement of the building backup generator fire department.
From our last meeting, y'all gave us the bids on the sub generator. We put out for bids, we only received one bid back. That was from Ecd Electric for $24,000, $178 on. That was way over our budget. I think we had, what, 16.9 left in our budget, for it, a little over 25,000. Of course, everything's went up, and it's hard to get equipment and stuff like that, everything's on back order. I talked to Jim, and, said I could call and see about adjusting it, trying to get it back as much as I could. And that's the package that I handed out to you, shows that I got it down to $22,000. And that's, it's gonna take 2 months to order the generator. So we're gonna be 2 months out before we get the generator. That's part of this code. What I was asking is for help to, decision where we can come up with this money. If I take that out of my equipment purchase, it's gonna leave me $3,900 for 10 months. I'm not sure what's going to come up in it.
Can that be fixed?
Well, we tried to get it fixed, and the board for it, we've been trying to get it for a long time. It had to get out, so imagine now trying to get that work.
You know, the generator place where they work on generators just up the highway, have they worked on it?
Yes,
They have.
talking about the Millers.
I don't think that's what I know where you're
Millers
going.
wanted to put it in.
Yes.
It requires us to be able to automatically switch over when power goes away.
Right.
And this will back up automatically back up. And the reason that's important is that it's overtime at the same time each day. So, NFPA requirements requires us to have that. Right now, in order for us to switch over, we have to go out there, start the generator up, go in the left room, stick our finger in the switch over box, and pull that lever down. And there's two phases that comes in that box. And so if you're in a dead of night and you're sleeping somewhere, you're gonna touch something, and firefighter in there, someone's gonna be laying out.
Yes.
So that's why it's so important, and that's why we're looking at changing this. But the inflation is picking us up on these parts, our generator itself. I mean, first we took it back to, the first time we asked for the, it went up the second time. So it's just inflation.
So we got to close what we would do the budget.
Right.
We got to vote for it. This is then and now.
What it's got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you definitely got to replace it at some point. I don't think you'll do it. Or you don't have to run through a problem. I know you've done a lot more the other day, but I don't know if it's going to be like that.
You done got that?
Well,
You already got that?
Equipment purchase is down. Purchases on the improvement.
Well, how much money are you asking for? I mean, what number you got to ask?
Yeah, it's $5,000, just a little bit over $5,000.
where do you think we ought to be from? I mean, it is your budget, so where do you think?
Miles down a little bit from here. That's up my budget, you know.
More doesn't make some money.
I may have spent something that I'm not seeing on the report we got and showed out regular equipment purchases for the fire department. You spent $450-something and you got 11,000 left there. Could we not take the extra 55 we need, generator out of that now?
On my records, it hasn't come through yet because I bought, I bought some hoses for my truck. I need them, had to buy some nozzles, and that was well over $2,000 there. And then,
That just had to hit your budget.
Had to hit it, and then.
yeah,
Okay.
so with that, I'm gonna have like $9,000 left.
Well, that's 5,500, but they don't leave you.
Right. Yeah, 3,000 for 10 months.
Gotta be real steep.
Yeah. Then it just been kind of, my 5-year plan, trying to get all this, I'm just gonna try to start replacing the hoses on my pumpers. The hoses are so expensive, everything burns.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
That's what an emergency fund is for.
Yeah,
We got an emergency fund.
we got some nice times.
Can we for now go ahead and take the 50/50 out of the fire department equipment? And then as you spend that down, then we'll see what you actually need to spend in that equipment line. You may not need all of that by the end of the budget year. And if you do, then bring it back, and then that's where we can, if we need to, then that's where general and classified will come in, but you still currently have the money in the budget to do
But
that.
as we get closer, you may not be. I mean, you know, you'll be real tight with it, but if you need to spend it, don't do without something you need. Come back and.
And then come back and
Pull out
ask for the
that.
addition.
So put my, replacing my hose off, because I don't have any extra hose other than what I have on the, pump.
You just bought hose, but that wasn't.
That's replacing one of my front lines on my main one.
I wouldn't, are they in worse shape than the one you just replaced?
Yes, they're starting to wear, kind of pulling them and everything, and you start to get out. So I'm trying to.
Where else is there any money on that? What you looking at, Peter?
Look on page 13, the last line at line 261. Was replacement of hoses like that not be equipment maintenance and repairs?
Not normally, no.
Okay. Is there a reason it can't be?
Well, you know, you can move money, but normally, hose has always been a long-term item in the general.
Okay.
And that's what we've always followed in the past.
So it's not really a consumable?
It's not really considered a consumable. Now, I have no idea what age of hose he's replacing, or sometimes
Any idea?
the ones on the lead lines going into the houses get more wear and tear than the rest of them on the trucks a lot of times, so it just varies.
I'm gonna say it's probably 14 years old.
What's
I know
that?
what the light was one was.
Yeah, what is
Glenn
it?
bought them when he first came
When he first came out.
Because since Lynn's been here, I know we replaced a lot of those. You know, we bought thousands of dollars of hose over about 4 or 5 years.
You bought some holes already, how much more do you expect to purchase? How much more were you planning to purchase? I guess I can't remember back to our budget.
Just to do that one pumper, it's gonna take 9 hoses.
And they're
You
two
bought
thousand
two.
eight.
No, they are about $300 each.
Okay. That's $2,700.
It just, that gets one pump. They're all the same age, you know.
Do you use them all the same amount of time? I mean, it's.
Our
and you
engine
don't-
3, engine 1, and engine 2, we have fires, that's the ones that
You use.
we use a lot.
Okay. So they definitely have to be different.
Both those sets on engine, both that are listed publicly.
Yeah.
So you said those gonna have to be replaced this budget year?
Well, see, I got nozzles, it's the old wrong pipe, like, it's when they had it down here. And we're having to replace some of them, and we're just trying to buy gaskets and stuff for them. Hard to get them.
Yeah. Where if you don't want to go to fire, can't do it. Yeah, this special equipment purchase, that was,
That's the generator that's going to in there.
How much do we have, how much do we have, how much do we, how much do lower it cost?
Right at $8,000.
8,037. You got mower, what else, we got weed eater,
Yeah.
trailer?
That was all of them.
Or the whole package, it was not the whole package for yard.
yeah.
Was, everything's about 8,000.
8,000. There's a mower, blower, weed eaters, hedge trimmers.
Everything.
And then the trailer.
And it came
I'll make that.
Turnout gear, you gotta have that, right? Turnout gear,
Yes, ma'am.
we got some miscellaneous there. Have we seen it?
We're only about a month into the budget. So
I know it's there.
you can't,
That's what I heard.
yeah, you gotta leave something for what's gonna happen the rest of the year.
What
I
do you
wish
know?
I don't have.
When do you plan on purchasing these other houses? Right, are you planning on making those purchases in the next 30, 60 days, or are we talking 180 days?
Probably more than the end of the year.
The end of the fiscal year or the
Calendar.
calendar year?
I think so.
Okay. And you want this generator, you wanna order it now?
Yeah, because we're 2 months out before we get the generator, get it started. Faster we get it ordered. Look down, so. I'll go the end, round up there.
So what is it you've got in equipment now?
I've got $9,000 that drives for my hoses and,
So this 12,000 is not correct? Okay.
to my budgets that I have.
Right, it just had to get
Right.
booked. Okay.
It hasn't come in yet, because they're always waiting.
Of the 9,000, in the regular equipment line, how much did you anticipate of that 9,000 spending for the hoses and those nozzles, whatever you need on this?
I was hoping just to spend enough for the two pumpers this year.
So
How much would that be?
$5,700 or something like that. I think it's 9 houses each truck,
Yeah.
and they're 300 or something like that. Plus there's a nozzle.
Right,
That's not counting the nozzle.
nozzle's $800 a piece.
Can't get that in Walmart.
No, okay.
$850 a piece.
For a nozzle. Not the hose.
Hoses are
It has
300.
emergency in front of it, that's the reason everything's so high. It's like this.
Yeah.
But you gotta have it, we need to get the money from somewhere.
How much you got that other place back in?
I hate to get on y'all a little bit, but we did a terrible job of budgeting what we got here. We went out and we missed this generator pretty bad, and we spent stuff we can, I think, and Daryl's going to tell you how we missed it on his too, on his thing, you figure. Times have changed here on it, I think stuff has really been high on us.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened to us. I think Daryl's gonna tell you here in a minute that what he thought he was gonna get something for, they jumped the price on him a little bit. So this is, I think, we're overlooking it now.
That's another thing where everybody's gonna go again.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Well, guys, we gotta get hoses. We gotta get
Well,
hoses.
not the only place we're gonna get is out of Cap Valley.
Looks like we probably need, and I was wanting to wait until further down the budget year before we started pulling stuff out of general unclassified. That's usually the intent.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that if we pull 5,000 now, cover this, and then you're gonna have to live within the remainder of that equipment budget period. Is what I would think. We've done, move 5,000. I would make a motion to help purchase the generator, move $5,000 from general unclassified into the special equipment purchase line, covered with purchase of that generator.
Question, is that enough? Don't short yourself here. This is, I think it's more than that. I think it's 5,500 or 6,000.
The 5,000 gives him back all the money he asked for in the budget. It covers the entire overrun. So.
I know, but it's more than it was, is the thing.
Well, you know, he may have put also those back to July 1, you know, if he can't do it, we're done with what he said. You know, at some point, the department heads have to, you know, just have to wait sometimes. I mean, you know, all of them, all of them, you know, sometimes, you know.
It was $5,050, surely it's $550.
I'm fine to be.
I have a motion for I got a motion for $5,000 out of capital outlay to go in the budget to purchase this generator. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is consider order submitting the water tap fees and gas line installation fees. There.
Tap fees, current fees have been in place since 2008. Materials have gone up, we're using resetters for water taps and things now, which adds to the cost of the tap. What we're proposing is to raise the 3/4 inch tap. It's currently at $700, raise it to 8. The 1 inch taps are currently $750, we'll raise those to 9. And the 2 inch taps are currently at $800, we'll raise those to $1,200. And that's quite a jump. We've seen a tremendous jump in 2 inch cost of a 2 inch meter is done. And that would be for inside the city, outside the city, proposed on the 3/4 to go from 8 to 900, from 875 on 1 inch to 1,025, and go from 925 on the 2 inch to 1325. And also, we're looking at the sprinkler line fee. It's currently at $10, and that really doesn't cover the cost of the reading and our tracking of the sprinkler line meters. And so we'll raise that fee to $15. And in this also, we're proposing to go from $2 a foot on gas services all over a certain distance. Then you'll have a sliding scale. You get the first 100 feet. If you have a water heater, you get the next 100. If you have gas heating, you get another 100. But at certain points, we go over the amount that we allow them for appliances. And so we're currently charging $2 a foot over that, the amounts that we determine is necessary. If they've got more than 300 feet, and so we're proposing to go from $2 a foot to $3 a foot for that. And that's just to cover our current cost of materials. Materials are going up. Like I said, these haven't been raised since 2008. If you look at the increase in the prices, it works out to be about 2%, which is in most cases less than some of the inflation and so on.
The only question I have was that bump on the 2 inch before it's supposed to be they're just jacked more than the others.
Yeah, we were losing money on every 2 inch tap for the ground. That didn't cover any labor either. I mean, I thought that's just materials only.
This is just material.
Well, the original intent on tap fees from way back was to cover your materials and some of the cost of the labor.
Right.
And this is, in most cases, they're all correct me if I'm wrong, they're covering the material areas. Because, you know, materials have just gone up so much.
Yeah.
Make a motion, we approve the ordinance amending the water tap fees and the gas service line installation fees.
Have a motion to approve the ordinance. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Roll call vote.
Mr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Mann?
Yes.
All voted in favor.
Entertain a motion on the second reading.
So moved.
Motion on the second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Mann?
Yes.
All voted in favor.
Next item, G, consider an ordinance amending the city's occupational safety and health plan as required by TOSHA. Jim?
Actually, he skipped an item.
I'm sorry, discuss and approve the city health insurance matching rate effective January 1.
As y'all are aware, each year we get an increase from the state local government health insurance plan. Well, I say almost every year. If you look at this spreadsheet that is in your packet on item F, the far right-hand column shows you the percent of increase that the plans have this year. It varies depending on which tier you're in. Each year we reevaluate what the city pays for each employee's coverage. We have done that. We originally, years ago, back when budgets were tight, 2008, 2009, the employees were paying approximately 20% of the best plan's premium out of pocket. Since that time, we have decreased the employee share to about 8-9%. This year, because of the increase, the decision was made to propose, it's y'all's decision, for the employees to cover approximately 10%, or it is 10%, of the best premium for the employee single coverage. That amount ends up to be the city paying $655 a month per employee. The employee will pay $72 a month. That is a $12 increase per employee for the employee to pay out of pocket per month. Now, this does not start until January 1, so it'll be actually for next calendar year. Y'all decide what the rate is. That was just a proposal that leaves it the employee covering 10%, the city covered 90% of that individual's plan. If the employee chooses a cheaper plan, one of the higher deductible plans, which is cheaper, they still get the same $655, and they can apply anything left over the individual coverage to cover their kids, their spouse, whatever.
Like a limited PPO.
If they want to take a limited PPO, we do have a lot of families, because just the cost of the family plan is so expensive.
Right.
That you got an employee, especially if you've got 9 people that's covering their children, and they're still out only an extra $13 each year, but they're actually going to be paying $163 a month.
Yeah.
So the city still pays $655 for that employee. He chooses which plan he picks.
Okay.
And the bottom plan down there, the health savings account, we think we only have 1 employee on that, but the premium costs $477. We still put $655 for that employee, and the difference goes into his health savings account for him. So the employee has the choice which plan, which level of coverage, but that is what we're proposing. You know, it's totally, the city approves this every year as far as what the city is willing to match.
Plus $178 to the monthly contribution for HSA.
Yes, which is the difference between the $477 and the $655.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's where that contribution goes to this HSA.
Well, you know, the city paying 90%, comparatively speaking, it's still pretty rich.
Yeah. But, you know, the family plans, especially the spouse, is very expensive for the employees. A lot of them can't afford it. I'll be totally honest, they can't. Especially, employees starting out, it's a problem. I'm not saying we can do any better. I'm just saying that,
That's everywhere, Jim.
I know, yeah, and it's a substantial line item in everybody's budget, every department's budget is health insurance, every city's budget. So that's what's being put out there, so we just need a motion to approve whatever number you want the city to take.
I make a motion that we go with your proposal of the 90%.
Motion to approve the proposal by the administration, 90-10. Do I have a second? Have a second. All those in favor, signify by aye. Aye. All opposed, signify by no. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda now is consider the ordinance of the city's occupational safety health plan requirement total.
I assume every one of y'all read all the 20 pages of information.
Wonderful.
And I'm sure you really appreciated that. This is, of course, TOSHA wording is, complete pretty much. If you have any questions, I will answer them, but every so many years, I think it's 7 years, we have to pass an ordinance such as this. There have been small changes from the last one, but there's nothing that really makes a whole lot of difference. I'm sure a lot of y'all that deal with OSHA may have the same type of plans in-house. That may not be an ordinance, but it's some other document that you do have it for a plan. So if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them if I can.
second?
Second.
Have a second. Roll call vote.
Mr. Phelps? Mr. Barber?
Yep.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Manning?
Yes.
All voted in favor.
Unanimous, I can entertain a motion, second reading.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Phelps? Mr. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Manning?
Yes.
All voted in favor.
Consider, next item, item H, consider purchase of a new trail mower for the street department on state contract. This was in our budget. I'm going to go to, Carter.
Yeah, this was in our budget. We have a flail mower, we have had it for several years, and it's wore out. So what they have now is what they call a source well buyers contract. It's the same thing like what we call a truck with the sanitation department. So I have two quotes, and it was in the $26,000 range. One of them was Tennessee Tractor at Jackson, and the other one was at CMI in Dallas. So it was $291 different in price. And this is through what source well, like we got with some patients. So I'd like, if by the board's approval, I'd like to approve us to go back to that on this, because what it is, they don't have a state contract, they don't change over to this, and that's the reason why.
So how much did you say it was?
It was 26, both of them was 26,000, but one of them was $291 different.
I think based on what Carter told me, Tennessee Tractor in Jackson is the one that's $291 or $96 more expensive. But they are located in Jackson versus Nashville.
Right.
So there's some advantages to that. They're both Sourcewell contracts. This is not like low bidder. Since they're both government contracts, we can buy on either one of them. So it's up to y'all. If you think it's worth the $291, dealing with the
But if it actually serves, it's gonna go back to Nashville.
If it's something drastic, you have to.
So we're gonna spend more than $200, take it to Nashville, bring it back.
Yep, definitely. This is basically identical to the mower we've been using. Well, Jerry King bought it several years before he left, so it's been around a long time.
I'd say we do.
What did we set aside in the budget?
We did set aside, I believe, close to 30.
Okay.
So we do have the money, and we're not over budget on this one.
Okay.
Yay, Carter.
Well, we put $29,000 in equipment, so we do have money to cover it.
Now make Steve do the rest.
I'll make a motion, we move forward with the purchase from Jackson.
Have a motion to move forward with the purchase with the company from Jackson, which one of the Tennessee Tractor?
Tennessee Tractor.
Tennessee Tractor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All those in favor, signify by aye. All those opposed, signify by no. Motion carried. Next item is considered the skid steer loader attachment to the utility department. Derek?
In the budget this year, we had money to buy skid steers. We had in the line item for just the skid steer, I had $96,503. The price through also Sourcewell, most equipment is purchased through the federal program through Sourcewell. And a number of vendors could supply a Sourcewell price on very similar equipment. The price came back at $104,346.68. And so that was more than what I had in the budget, but when we ordered the vacuum excavator, it was like $5,592 less. And so and then we had some additional monies in there for equipment that was for attachments and things like that. So what I propose to do is, spend up to $105,000 on the skid steer and two attachments, and then you just look at the other needs in the department. And we do have the money in the budget in that line item, but we may not get as many pieces of equipment as what we originally anticipated, primarily because the price is going up. I checked with several vendors that can give us a Sourcewell price. One of them told me that, a very comparable machine, that if I ordered it from them, we would be looking at probably here says if we're looking at 6 to 8 weeks, and so this is a vendor in that, Jackson, it would be, steering equipment, and I'm proposing to purchase this skid steer from them with 2 pieces, 2 attachments.
What's the attachment? Just wondering.
Well, it's like the mulcher or trimming, sewer line right away, and then we had a bucket, we had, also had a bush hog in there,
So drop the bush hog for now.
Don't put that
drop
on.
the bush hog in there, just see what it looks like.
We'll do it another year.
Now, did you get everything that you needed with your e-bag?
We did get that ordered, and they told us it would be about 4 weeks on that, so we're just now approaching the 4-week mark. But, a lot of this equipment, a lot of contractors and things are running some older equipment, I guess in anticipation of this, stimulus money and infrastructure money. I talked to someone that was, said that they put, like 10 air compressors. And so it's, in availability, we've got a lot of electronics, particularly with the newer pieces of equipment with the, change these with the debt and all that, a lot of electronics involved. So being able to build it, so I'd like to go ahead and board approve purchases.
I make a motion that we authorize Darrell to spend up to $105,000 for skid steer loader and attachments.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Have a second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by aye. All opposed, signify by no. Motion carried. Next item, item J, consider purchase of 4-post vehicle lift for maintenance shop. This is something we also had in the budget this year, Jim. Jim had to do a little work on this.
Yeah, I've actually done a few site visits, trying to get me the correct Sourcewell price on this lift. This lift is an 18,000 pound lift. Our vehicles are getting bigger and heavier. Our utility department's buying bigger trucks. As such, we can't put them on our lift at all. This is a 4-post type, drive-on type lift, which is different than a regular 2-post lift where you come up under the frame. But in order to allow the mechanics to do brake and tire work, you also have to buy additional jacks that roll on this thing to lift the vehicle up off the 4-post runner. Long story short, Sourcewell again, went through Napa here locally, the Napa store here. We finally got on the right page with the owner about the Sourcewell contract and the right pricing as of this afternoon. And in a roundabout way, we came up with a price under Sourcewell of $19,002.48 for the lift, the 2 jacks, front and rear, the installation, and an air hose kit. And I think the only thing we might have to do that I got to clarify would be probably to pull electricity out of the breaker box to the lift itself, which is really an additional cost. So that is what I'm asking approval for. It is in the budget under the shop equipment purchase. I think there's a total budget of $30,000. We at the time we put a budget in there, we didn't know what this is going to cost, and I'm sure there's other things he was planning on buying too. But this was the big one he really wanted, so we're spending this money first. So with your approval, once again, I reckon we need a motion to approve this lift. Go ahead and get it ordered.
Make a motion to go ahead.
Have a motion, have a second. Any discussion on motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by aye. All opposed, signify by no. Motion carried. Yeah, Jim, I have to give Jim credit for this one. He went, and by the time he talked to him and explained him how this worked, the price of the lift went down a little over $3,000.
Thanks, Jim.
I think it ain't no far from the tree. Some dead in there. Yeah. Next item on is considered, we got that one, other business. Something I want to bring to the board, there's nothing in our policy about this, but we've always had it, and I want to bring it to the board. If you remember 2008 and 2009, we'd have a job opening, we'd have 30 or 40 people apply for one job opening. Now, job opening, we're not getting, sometimes it's one person, a couple of people. One thing that we have always disallowed is you have a felony conviction. In this day and time, they're really trying to train everything. I realize some departments, that is a deal breaker. The police department, the other departments, that's a deal breaker. But other ones, it's not. I'm not saying that you will get hired. I'm just saying that what I'm asking this board to be okay with is we'll be able to consider those. If you're not just automatically eliminated because you have a felony conviction, you have an 18-year-old has a felony conviction that wasn't that bad, he's 30-something years old right now, been working, never had any problems at all. You know, that's a good employee, to be a good employee. And so I'd like us to be able at least to consider the application, that he can apply, and we can consider the application. And we can realize that it greatly depends on what that felony was, if he gets hired or not. Or you can be considered, you might look at the felony and all of a sudden he's not considered because what it is.
Yeah,
But-
if it is violent crime or sexual assault of the child.
It's, you know, a lot of things, but we have a lot of people that we're just, at this point in time, we're just, if you check that felony box, we don't even consider it.
Right.
And we've lost a couple of people, I think, would be, that like I say, they were in the 30s and did something foolish when they were 20 years old, that might be a property crime or something like that. And now, you know, we want to give them, we won't even consider them. And I'd like to have that option to consider. It's nothing in the policy says we can't, but it's something that we've always done over the years, way before my time. And I think I asked him today what he thought, and I kind of like the board, if the board's okay with it, give me a motion and approve it, to let us at least consider that.
There's nothing written in the personnel policy.
There's nothing written in policy anywhere.
It's just been an internal policy that, a general practice, yes.
If it's internal, do we need a motion to change it internal?
No, I just think, I don't know, maybe you don't need one. But I thought, I just didn't think, I don't think I have the authority to decide that we can start considering those applications without coming to the board. Some way, give them some proof of the board that I can consider those.
Who would make the decision on this?
It would be, the department head makes the decision on who to recommend for hire, and then the mayor has to approve.
Right.
Just like
So-
I would suggest that the mayor gives the approval on the hire for, because the department head, you know, you guys are great. But I want to put that on my back as far as, if someone had a felony, you hire them.
I have to sign off on it anyway. I got to sign off on it.
He's got to sign off on them anyway.
I'm good with that.
And I have to sign off on it anyway.
And I'd recommend the department head discuss that to the mayor prior to them even going to the employee to make an offer or send them for any of the pre-employment tests.
Right.
To make sure everybody's sort of in agreement that he can still be considered if he passes these tests, based on his crime, how long, the time frame, and the position he's applying for, he or she is applying for.
Have you got a GIS person?
We have one that has committed. We're still going through the pre-hire process. And he's a graduate from UT Martin. He has a certificate in GIS and a 4-year college degree in agricultural engineering. So hopefully the process will continue on.
Do you think we need to motion this other deal, or you think we're all right with the Jerry? What do you think? All right.
Because it's not written anywhere.
I didn't want to start, I didn't want to change it unless y'all knew what I was fixing to do, and y'all didn't have a
I think
problem.
it's wise that we let
Everybody's
you know.
Yeah, everybody's doing it now.
The other thing I want to just bring up real quick is, I got a phone call yesterday from Gerald Parrish. Gerald Parrish. And Gerald says they had about $500,000 in department fund money they had to get obligated this month. And his question to me was, do you have anything on your trail grant? It can only be for the trail grant. He said there's no way they could get things obligated unless it had to go, grants are already in process.
I'm talking about the current.
The current grants everybody had, and see if you had anything in your trail grant that you could use, that you wanted to took up there. We thought that, we talked about a few other things, and I mean, he was going to figure out about $100,000.
Wow.
If we, but the problem is, what can we do that, you know, that's only with this trail grant that you would want to add on to it?
Can we add security cameras up through there or something? Could that come out of it?
What about music?
There's questions I can ask. We talked about lighting, we talked about,
Lighting?
they even talked about, I think Brent brought up, sidewalks coming off of it with instead of a bench, a picnic table out in the woods where the parking area is, out in the areas out there. We racked our brain on several things, so, but get it, I'm not saying we get it, Gerald said the money's out there, they're trying to get it obligated. But we gotta come back with something we wanna do that will add to that. It's gotta be on this existing trail grant, something we think we need to add. It's also take consideration too, you know, we're talking about 80-20 match, so
Yeah, it's not free.
it ain't free, nothing.
Nothing's free.
It's not free.
And the contractor's deadline is like now. So he is ready, or will be ready, hopefully in another week, or week and a half to pay. So he's gonna be wanting to get wrapped up, and close the project out, because his deadline's here.
Why didn't they so like to call you?
He didn't know we had it.
Yeah, Thursday,
He didn't have it.
Maybe one of
I
those
think some of
that-
these grants, some grants that came back and didn't get used.
I bet that's what it is.
And they said they're sitting on about
$500,000.
$500,000, they're trying to get it obligated, see if anybody can do it. Now, what Jim, and of course, Jim and I thought about is, how about some cost overrun? Can we get some money back on cost overrun? You know, all the rock.
We
That's bad dirt.
We got $30,000 to $50,000.
Donald's cost overrun. That's one question I am gonna ask you, can I do cost over? I bet he's gonna tell me no, but I'm gonna still ask the question. But do cost overrun?
They take the 50,000 down, just out, you'd be out 10.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
That'd be real good.
Because that's the first thing we thought about, is cost overrun. So that's what I'm gonna ask you to do.
The next best
Now,
thing
this-
is lights or.
Now, is this LPRF money?
It's gotta be a trail, it's a trail grant, it's a trail.
It is still the trail.
It's still the trail grant.
I was hoping it wasn't 50/50 money there.
No, he told me 80-20. I asked that question, I figured it was gonna be, when he said it first, I said, that's gonna be 50-50. He said, no, it's 80-20. So, I'll talk to him tomorrow, but I held off calling him back, because I talked to y'all to see if y'all had some ideas. And we talked about benches, we talked about some other things. I was gonna run all that by him and see what would qualify and what not qualify.
What did we pull out, you're on the park board, what did we pull out of that? I know there was something about, was it the ADA, we had to cut something?
We just had to change the way that section, trail when it goes up the hill.
And he also mentioned, for some reason, he mentioned retaining wall. There are places that you need retaining wall.
Could they last?
On the edge there by the parking lot.
That's what, we were trying to figure out what we might need a retaining wall for.
We had a cut that was deeper than what I anticipated, right at the base of the farmer's market. It's 2.5 feet on the upper side of the trail.
Needs some.
And the inspector's already mentioned it. I've mentioned it twice to the engineer. So it's definitely an issue that I think they're gonna have to go back and regrade back up that hill, which is already steep anyway. So that may be something we could look at, spend a little of this money, just a block retaining wall across that one little section to help. I don't know. We'll do that, talk to Gerald.
Talk to Gerald.
That way it's an idea.
I want to talk to y'all first before I call Gerald back and see, he might tell me that he might have it very limited in what I can do. He did mention retaining wall. He did mention a bathroom, you want to build a bathroom. I'm just thinking water, sewer, we have, there's some kind of buildings we gotta maintain. I don't think.
It's not that long. I mean,
I just didn't take it.
yeah, hold it. Go.
That's all, I just want to bring that to y'all's attention. Gee, you got anything? I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I don't wanna be spending money we got amassed just on stuff that we don't really
They want to
need.
get, and
That's that's what we were talking about too, is if you really want to get in this thing, unless there's something we really needing. That's the reason the first thing we all said was the cost overrun. We'll give it I know they're going to do it, but we'll at least ask them.
The cost overrun, the retaining wall that we need, to figure out what we truly are and what the park board really wants. It's not there.
Yeah, but I think I'm gonna send, the police department's gotta go over there tomorrow. I think it's more concrete thing. I'm hearing that somebody writing the concrete.
Chief's tired.
Chief, you got anything?
Wanted to try to go ahead and purchase the gas leak detector. It's an electronic item, so whether or not it's even still available and at the budgeted price, but if it's still available and at the budgeted price, I would like to try to get that as well, because electronic items are getting just almost impossible.
How much was it?
It was like $10,215. That was what was in the actual budget.
That's to smell it, or no?
It's laser detection, and so it's a much more accurate, and when we do like leak detection for the zones and things like that, we have to currently bring somebody else in. Occasionally, certain times we've had a leak that we never could find, we had to bring somebody else in. You know, if you've got that delay, it becomes a safety issue. And so, trying to just come up to current technology and how we detect natural gas. And it was a budgeted item.
And you still have that money, right?
Yes.
You just need authorization to make the purchase. I make a motion to authorize him to make the purchase.
Motion to make the purchase, do I have a second? Second. Have a second, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by aye. All opposed, signify by no. Motion carries. Chief?
Yes, I just want to let y'all be aware, we have ordered new patches. And thanks to Chief Gary over here, he allowed us to use his patch and just change the outline. Keep it all on the history instead of what we got here. This is from Jimmy in all the way up. It's been there for many years. And we have changed it to this.
I think we talked about that, well, you talked to the paving company, what's their?
I talked to the paving company, and they paved the Brownville Highway 4 lanes, and he told me it'd be, one, not at the end of this month, the quickest that they could get it, because they tired of doing 4 lanes to Brownville.
No. Here. Andrew? The letter you got, I forwarded it to all.
They did a good job. Sorry, copy that went into personnel.
I think the sergeant was in the letter, you was the sergeant.
Well, it wasn't a sergeant. I don't really
I don't know who it was. I'll give side up. Brandon and Whitney done an amazing job. I was just tagging along with their folks. They did a great job. I don't have anything.
Do you guys have anything? If not, we have a long one, so I'll make a motion to adjourn.